All right, so here we are. It's about 3 minutes past, so let's go ahead and dive in. So welcome. I'm Adam Kaiser. I am the VP of Brand and Growth Marketing here at 6th Sense, and really excited to welcome you to our Level Up session today. And we have a really great set of speakers today. But before we dive in, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. In the website interface, you should see the Q&A box. Feel free to drop questions in there as we're making our way through, and we'll hit those questions up towards the end. The session's also going to be recorded, so that'll be available and sent out later today or tomorrow for you to take a look at, and available on our website at really any time you want to take a look at it. So with that, again, I want to welcome our really great set of panelist speakers to the event today. So I cannot do their bios justice, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our first speaker, Jordan, to talk quickly about him in CivicPlus.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jordan Rochester. I'm coming to you from Tallahassee, Florida. I see some Floridians in the chat there, so hello to you all and to everybody else. I'm from CivicPlus, where, as you can see there, we power and empower local government, not just local government, special districts. We're tapping into the EDU space as well. And as you can see, we touch over 340 million residents and staff alike across the world, mainly the US, with working with over 10,000 local government entities. That's over 100,000 administrative users. And basically, we provide award-winning technology solutions for them. The idea is to create an experience for them. So through our automated processes, digitized services, we plan or hope to create an experience between local government staff and their constituents and their residents. So we have a wider range of software solutions that we provide. Many are award-winning, and I'd love to talk to you about it more outside of this, but that's a quick overview of CivicPlus. Thank you. And on to Carrie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Marnack. I'm the head of global brand and marketing at Sandler. If you're a sales professional, you may be most familiar with our training. We actually have two sides of the business. We have an enterprise side of our business, and we have our franchise network, which equates to about 200 locations around the world. So oftentimes we hear sales professionals say, oh yes, we had sales training, and they name any place on the globe, and they've experienced the training. What we provide are data-driven sales performance solutions, primarily on the enterprise side, and that spans from assessments to performance planning, performance training, just making sure there's that reinforcement in the flow of work. And then, of course, measurement, taking a look at showing the ROI for those types of investments. And you know, no matter what part of the revenue engine that you're in, whether you're a CRO or customer success or BDR, leading a BDR team, we have a variety of solutions there. So been an ABM customer for the last 18 months or so, and really excited to talk about it today.
Great. Brian.
Hi there. My name is Brian Pessin. I'm the Director of Integrated Campaigns and Programs at Sift. I've been at Sift for 11 months now, coming up on my 1-year anniversary in September. And Sift is an AI-powered fraud platform that secures digital trust for leading global businesses. We're recognized as a leader in the fraud detection and prevention space by analyst groups like Forrester and Gartner, and have a really strong presence on G2 as well. We work with over 700 brands across the globe, including DoorDash, Yelp, and Poshmark, and we help them solve the risk-revenue equation through our deep investments in AI and machine learning and user identity, as well as a data network that scores 1 trillion events per year. Overall, we ensure that legitimate customers can seamlessly engage with the brands that they love while protecting those businesses against different types of fraud.
Great. Thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate that. So just quick review for those who were in our first session. This is our second session of our Level Up ABM 101 series. We're having a bit too much fun with our video game theme here, but it seems to be working for us. So really excited to welcome you back. And these are all the sessions that we have coming up over the next, actually through the end of the year. That's how we are planned out pretty far. So keep an eye out for additional invites and sessions as we continue through that. So this session, though, customer roundtable, and really it's about why going account-based. So we talked about account-based marketing and the fundamentals in our first session, but now we're going to talk to our group here about why their organizations have made this shift, why it's important to them, and ultimately what the outcomes have been so far, and how it's sort of helped move things within their organizations. Just a quick reminder about us, 6 Sense. Our founding was really based on one question of, wouldn't sales and marketing be a whole lot easier if we just knew who was looking to buy our product? It's not an easy question, but ultimately that's what our platform is it is been built for, to really tell you a lot of different things, right? Which accounts are the best fit, your ICP, when accounts are in market and where they are in their buyer's journey, who's on the buying team and who to contact next, how to contact them, and even what they care about. And now, kind of as we continue in this new world of generative AI, what to say, and even say it for you through generating content as well. So that's a quick review on us. I am going to stop the slideware for now, though, because we are going to get into the nitty gritty of this presentation, which is really just let's talking to our roundtable, our speakers. So I want to just start off with the first question, and we can sort of just go one by one. And it's pretty simple. Why did your organization decide to go, let's move from a lead-based strategy to an account-based strategy? Carrie, I'd love for you to maybe jump in and give us a start.
Sure. Thanks, Adam. So as I mentioned, we started our ABM journey about 18 months ago or so. And I think there were two primary factors involved. One, I think a lot of us have heard that stat from Gartner that, the buying committee today, especially in the enterprise market, is anywhere from 14 to 19 people. It's not just that one person anymore, especially in the new world of video and the ability to be remote and join those conversations. So we're seeing that broader group. It's really turning into an account-based decision, really. The second factor, I think, is marketing budgets. For anyone in the audience in marketing, I think we've seen our budgets in many industries, not all, but really take a bit of a hit. And I still think we lag behind those pre-pandemic marketing budgets in terms of a percentage of revenue. So where we may have been, again, to look at Gartner's stats, around 11% perhaps pre-pandemic, we're still trailing a little bit. And we see anywhere from maybe 6 to 9% now. So I think for us, we really wanted to think about how we were spending our marketing dollars and prioritizing our spend based on who is actually interested. Adam, you just covered that slide on who's interested, what they're interested in, et cetera. Focusing our dollars on really the people actually interested in our services and in a position to make that decision, and in a phase that they were willing to do so, in a decision phase or whatnot. So I think it was really fine-tuning where we were spending our dollars as well.
Great.
I think that's a really great point, Carrie. We're experiencing similar things in terms of our marketing budget, and what we're really focusing on is what is the ROI on our program spend. At an organization like Sift, where we're selling to enterprise organizations across the globe, we have a very good idea of who our target customers are, and we've developed a really strong internal ICP profile, as well as an account scoring method that helps to tier our accounts into different buckets based on win rate, churn rate, industry, and other important factors like that, so that we're being incredibly focused on the accounts that are going to make the biggest and the longest lasting impact for our business. So the shift to really a dual funnel, we are still doing broad-based marketing tactics, but the shift to a dual funnel really helps to support that focus and the efficiency when it comes to our marketing spend.
Yeah, I agree with both of you, Brian, Carrie, and I wanted to be fully transparent. And like you just said, Brian, we still are running a dual funnel ourselves. I mean, it's kind of hard to make that shift immediately. But I will say we're seeing success with our ABM strategy. And the idea is just to be more strategic with our marketing approach in general. Like Carrie mentioned, a lot of the buying committee or buying group is a large group. So we have to make sure that we are taking that into account and hitting the right people at the right time with the right message. That's the whole idea behind it, right? So instead of just, and forgive me, but the spray and pray method for us is just not working anymore. You can't send 1 billion emails out a year. That's not how things will close, So The idea is to get a little bit more strategic, less emails to these broad audiences, have a little bit more of a tailored messaging, a unique messaging, meet the buyer where they are in their journey, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that alone is a no-brainer for us to consider in our marketing efforts.
Yeah, that's great. So I get, sort of like, okay, you made the decision. We're going to go account-based. You just snapped your fingers. It was done. And there was no challenges whatsoever, right?
None.
So let's go into a next question. So like, what were your internal challenges that you faced when you were adopting it, right? Was, in terms of, there could be a number of different things. And so kind of what they were, and I think everyone would love some tips and tricks on kind of how to overcome those. I don't care if you want to, or either anybody can jump in on that one.
Yeah, I can go ahead and kick this one off. So I am very fortunate to be at a company that had and has really strong alignment at the leadership level, as well as with our board of directors when it came to transitioning to this account-based approach. So we had very strong alignment between our CMO, our CMO, and even went as far as to split the cost of our ABX tooling and agency spend with our sales team, so that everybody is really invested in this approach, both from a financial and from a strategic standpoint. That being said, there's a lot of change management that needs to happen in order for this kind of transition to be successful. Having a top-down approach has worked really well in our favor at Sift, but for teams that are, for sales teams that are maybe a little bit more used to that lead-based model, responding to inbound inquiries, to MQLs, it's a very different mindset when it comes to monitoring accounts for different anonymous intent signals and figuring out how to act on those. So that's been a work in progress. We've been really fortunate to work very closely with the team at 6th Sense on a lot of internal enablement efforts. And one of our big initiatives for this quarter is all around sales management enablement. So we're running a 3-session series with our CSM Lucas at 6th Sense, as well as some of the other executives at the 6th Sense team, to really get behind the methodology behind ABX, as well as how our sales management can use tools like the 6th Sense Sales Intelligence Dashboard to mentor, coach, and monitor what their team is doing in order to be the most successful.
I really like that, Brian, that you were able to lean on 6th Sense for that. We've had a lot, obviously, work closely with 6th Sense as well, but we also employed the help of an agency. So for us, I have a small team. I don't know if others on this webinar have smaller teams, or maybe you're asked. We're all asked to do more with less. I feel like that's pretty universal for all of us in this field. And I found that the agency was a good way to bring it down, to allow for those personalized buying experiences. So the crazy thing about ABM to me is that while you're marketing to these bigger accounts, which would imply something broad, you're also trying to provide personalized buying experiences. So to be able to do that with a small team is very challenging. The benefit, I think, of whether you have the team members in-house or you need to have an agency help you do it. We worked with 2X in particular for our agency strategy. We needed help with, okay, who has domain expertise in advertising? What do the ads look like? Can we do ABM testing? What about content? If we're going, so Jordan, you mentioned meeting the buyers where they are. How do we provide the right content to where people are in the funnel? So we had a group with domain expertise in content. We had a group with domain expertise in advertising. And this was sort of the components around the primary engine of 6th Sense. So we had 6th Sense was that driver of the engine, but then we needed these little areas of domain expertise that helped us to really build out the strategy and make it work. It's really, in my mind, challenging to be an expert in all of those areas, and especially if you have a small team. So I think the ability to pull in expertise wherever you can really primes the pump in terms of getting this engine to start to spin and provide good results for your company.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat there. Question, maybe statement, but how to convince people in your organization that ABM and demand gen are two different. You kind of nailed it there, Leonard. And my thing was educating the difference between the two. Not to say that demand gen, you should toss it out the window I mean, in 6 Sense, we have buying stages, right? So a demand gen approach can still be fused with the data and the intel that you get from 6 Sense to hit your market that's in consideration and awareness with a more broad approach like that. But we have this information now, and we should use it. So I think the first step is just educating them that, look, this is not another tool. Well, it is another tool. Don't take that the wrong way. But I think what happens is we're so overwhelmed with our day-to-day already, and all these platforms that we have to learn and use, and they all work together and this kind of stuff. So instead of treating it like, oh, something else to learn, something else to have to figure out, and treat it more of as a tool to assist you in your day-to-day. So once we educate them on how to view 6 Sense ABM and how to use it, it becomes very powerful, especially for those people who are a little bit more conservative in the beginning. Like, this is the way I'm used to doing things. I don't want to change that. But then you show them that different personalized approach that Carrie was just talking about. And then the intel from 6 Sense on top of that. And in like no time, you have evangelists, people who are just like, I love this, never get rid of it. Please, we need this for everything that we do in our day-to-day. So it's just that education difference, I think, just making sure we educate them. And to that effect, we host office hours bi-weekly with anybody who wants to join to learn more about the platform, to dig into the nitty-gritty, or just learn about it from a high level. So
that's great. No, really good insights there. I think, one of the things I talked to quite a few customers, prospects, and ultimately like this whole concept of change management, right? Where you're like, there's a concept of lead gen. There's a concept of one thing or one way that things are done. And then there's this new way of doing things. And you sort of almost have to become the ABM evangelist as much as you're the practitioner and the marketer that's trying to make it happen. So, and the question for anybody here, like, how did you, and any of those challenges that you came across, like, how did you really influence stakeholders? And anyone that was sort of, again, we talked about challenges, but people that were just like holding back and like, well, leads are great and MQLs, what's going to happen? Like any sort of like cautionary tales or huge wins that we could talk through there. Brian?
Yeah, I can kick this off. So I talked a little bit about change management and how we're approaching that. The enablement internally is really a continued journey. And we've started building evergreen programs for for new hires that come on, for example, that really go through a combination of live and on-demand trainings in order to really arm them with the materials that they need in order to both buy into this methodology as well as tactically, use the tools at their disposal in order to make it successful. So if we look at an onboarding track for a new SDR, for example, we're looking at how 6 Sense works, the 6 Sense for SDR Sales Intelligent Live training. We have an on-demand recording from Christian Webb, a 6 Sense BDR, that goes through how he uses the tool on a daily basis. As well as office hours with the Sift demand gen team, as well as the 6 Sense team. So continuing that constant enablement has been really important to the success of our program. We've also started to do some for our executives and for our board some calculations about the return on our ABX investment versus our broad demand gen spend. And like Carrie was alluding to before, we're becoming much more efficient when it comes to spending on our target account. So we have a cost per opportunity that's less than half for our ABX target accounts, and we're generating almost 2 times more pipeline from those target accounts as well. So that really helps to convey the value of the strategic approach that we're making here at Sift.
I think, for sales and marketing, I've worked with sales professionals, as we all have, I don't know, maybe over 25 years now. And I think sales is one of the hardest jobs out there. I really do. And I think that we've had this age-old argument or this cage match over marketing says, you don't follow up with our leads, and sales says your leads are terrible. And, we'll be fighting about this till we die. So if we can show we're giving you, like Jordan, you mentioned, the right people at the right time and enabling you to have the right conversation. Those leads are going to close faster. You're going to have a higher win rate. And the more we can show that and demonstrate it pretty quickly, because I feel like sometimes when we roll out new things in marketing, sales kind of has that, oh boy, here we go. New CRM, you see all those memes about sales and CRMs. It's just a lot. We're always rolling things out, new technology, we get excited. But if we don't show the value quickly, I feel like it can be discounted very quickly. So, to be able to show, we're able to show you, we call them breadcrumbs at Sandler. Who's been coming to the site? Who's in that buying committee? Who are the decision makers? We give you the decision makers. We give you what they're looking at. So we can say, look, a customer success team, what looks to be a customer success team is accessing customer success materials. They're also looking up a couple of our competitors, and we're able to give that information to sales and give them maybe an asset that's relevant to what they're looking for, so that sales can follow up with the right people at the right time and have that right conversation. I think as they see that and trust that, it's really gone a long way, at least in our organization. And of course, it helps to stay in close contact with our CRO. Is very supportive. We're lucky to have, a CRO that helps to advocate that as well. I think it helps when the message comes from the top on both sides. Like, we are going to do this, we're going to make it work, and everybody get on board, because this is working, and just being able to demonstrate that value, I think.
Yeah, you're nailing it, Carrie. I mean, show how it's working in our own marketing strategy. Sometimes marketing and sales can get so siloed that it's like, we're running a mile a minute over here, you're running a mile a minute over here. But realistically, we should be working together, and there should be full transparency between the two. Like, if we're hosting a campaign that's 6 Sense data driven and it's successful, that needs to be shared with the sales team so that they can act on it, or they can use the same assets and target the same people in the same stages that we're targeting. We have many different avenues in which we use 6 Sense, and I'll list a couple of them here in a second. But another thing you mentioned, Carrie, was getting, I guess, buy-in or help or belief. Trust is a word you use that is very powerful when it comes to all this stuff. If you trust the data, it will work. So, believe it or not, our CMO actually introduced us to 6 Sense. So we actually had C-suite on board already. That was pretty easy to get, those key stakeholders to believe in it and say, hey, let's try it out and let's see what happens. And that was probably a little bit over 2 years ago, and here we are. So another thing is, find the sales users that really find value in the tool and provide opportunities for them to share their findings and success. Obviously, right? And the whole thing here is adoption through FOMO, fear of missing out. Yeah. When somebody's using sales intelligence or the sales intelligence iframe, and somebody else doesn't know about it, or like, what is that? That is like an eye-opening moment for somebody who's not familiar with the software or has used it before, because now you just got somebody else that's like, oh, I can use this in my everyday, so that's been pretty powerful. Like I said, we have the biweekly office hours. We really urge people to check out RevCity, and if they don't have access, we'll help them research and look for things that they might be able to find useful in there. And then the last thing I'll leave here on this point is talking points and alerts. Those are pretty powerful to use amongst the teams too. I found that the SDRs really enjoy using the alerts to help prioritize their day-to-day. And that goes all the way up the chain of command. I think they start to share that with their leaders, and which comes back to us in the way we help each other in a way that if they want to manipulate or change the segment that provides them their alerts, we can do that now that they understand how this works. We have to work together for it to be successful. If just marketing is utilizing it, it might not be as successful as fast. It still can be. But just working together from leadership all the way down, and then from sales and marketing as a department, those definitely key to success.
We also did one thing, you reminded me of this, Jordan, when you were talking through this, but in terms of the alignment meetings and office hours, we did something a little unconventional at Sandler. The BDR team, we brought under marketing. So the inside sales reports to marketing now. Yep. So rather than have that bridge on the other, we've created a bridge, really.
Same.
So, yeah. So it's really, does it work well for you?
It does. And what we do now is we feed that SDR team We call them engagement records, but they're basically like opportunities right before they get to an opportunity, and they're all 6 Sense data driven. So yeah.
So I think that's made a huge impact as well, because they kind of span both sides of the coin there, and they can go back and forth, and we get that immediate feedback loop of what's working, what's not.
More communication between both departments.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, I think one thing too on adoption as well, like celebrating the wins and even like the smallest of wins, right? So, having it's a Slack channel, it's a team channel, and somebody be like, hey, I just booked a meeting off of, whatever data I had out of the platform, whether it's 6 Sense or something else. But again, just say like that adoption through FOMO, I think is such a great, like that should go on a t-shirt, frankly.
Yeah, no, might have to trademark that.
Yeah, there you go. You can start selling merch. But again, like it's those types of wins are huge because again, it's going to create that FOMO, but also, you get that groundswell of like, oh wait, this one's being successful, I'm going to jump in there, and you suddenly have this sort of just bottoms up approach of where everyone's like, wow, I'm getting somewhere with this from a sales perspective. And I think even too, taking a particular opportunity and sort of like doing like the forensic analysis at the end of the day. If it's a closed one opportunity, let's say, go back and show everything that happened, all the account-based touches, kind of all the things that marketing was here, sales was here. And you've got that, look what we did together on this account that ultimately led to opportunity in business can also, we see a lot of success with our customers that are doing that. So, all right. So now let's go someplace fun, which is, reporting and one version of the truth. So 6 Sense, we obviously are account-based because we're in account-based, and we live and die by our qualified accounts or our 6 QAs. How are you all looking at that shift or sort of moving into, we already have, but how you shifted your reporting and kind of what was your thought process around then, how you did that? And I know, Jordan, you've got some interesting thoughts there. Maybe start us off.
Yeah, sure. Well, some technical stuff that we did, those same engagement records that I was saying that we provide to the SDRs, I think including the 6 Sense fields on those engagement records made it a little bit more helpful for them to just see that in one place rather than having to bounce around to the account and to the iframe and all that. So I think that helped them out a lot. One thing that I came across recently, actually from Ami on Rev City, he wanted to anchor our expectations, which I can really appreciate. Is we're not gonna hit 100% of our 6 QAs. It's a good number to strive to, but it's almost impossible. But I think the quote was something like, and this is not verbatim, but you won't achieve 100%. In fact, you'll probably won't reach 90% at 6 Sense. We're close to around 70. And I think at CivicPlus, we're around the 60% mark. So, just making sure that we're using that data. Stages in which we market are very important. We found that 76%, accounts in decision and purchase convert to opportunities at a 76% higher rate in 33% less time than accounts in awareness and consideration. So when you take all that stuff into account, you have to almost inject it into your reporting. And trust me, we're at a place right now as a company where our reporting is not the greatest, I'll be honest. We just acquired 3 companies in the last 3 years, make that 4 if you take it back another 2 years, so 5 years total. So we've had to combine Salesforce instances and marketing automation platforms. So one of our hugest initiatives right now in 2024, and we have a code name for it and everything, it's huge, is just getting centralized reporting and getting everything in one system that everybody has eyes on. So I think that's key first. And then from there, you're able to inject all of that information that I was just talking about, like the percentages of close rates in different stages and all that kind of stuff. Once you inject that into it, you can literally develop a strategy or a campaign based off of stuff like that alone. So.
Yeah, I love that you guys are also using code names for major projects like this. At Sift, our ABX transition has been dubbed Project Bullseye. It's been a really intentional internal brand awareness effort led by our CMO that's really helped to get the team excited and energized behind this really important strategic shift. From a reporting standpoint, a lot of what we're looking at is how we are able to target and then convert our target accounts from those different tiers to pipeline, which this ABX approach is really helping with. In terms of 6th Sense hot accounts, so at Sift we call them MQAs, whereas within 6th Sense you call them 6QAs. We're starting to see really quick and really high percentages of responses to the MQA tasks that we generate for our SDRs and AEs. So we have a really strict internal definition for our MQAs. So in addition to leveraging the 6th Sense buying stage, we're also looking at web visits or LinkedIn ad clicks, as well as specific personas that are engaging with our different demand gen campaigns. So again, blending the demand gen and ABX approach here. And then we have SLAs for our sales team. Once these tasks are delivered, they're expected to act on them within a certain time frame, reaching out to a certain number of individuals with a minimum number of touches over a 30-day span to make sure that we are that we're really hitting those accounts, and we're attempting to multi-thread to the best of our abilities in order to build that buying committee, so that when it does hit pipeline, it has a higher chance of converting to later stages.
For us, I think one of the key things to help change the mindset included changing the language. So Brian used MQAs. We want to step beyond the 6QAs that were the 6th Sense qualified leads and developed what we ended up calling 6QA plus, where we added a second tier of lead scoring, because what we wanted was our own way to control. So we wanted to make sure the leads were the absolute most qualified that we were sending over, again, to keep the momentum up. So what we did was we use HubSpot, so we added on a level of a lead score. So then we could see, well, what lead score is actually working. We didn't want to overcorrect and knock out leads, and we didn't want to keep it too low where we were sending over those crappy leads and then feed into the narrative that marketing just sends over terrible leads. So we we ended up around of our lead score around 70 or 80 is the average lead score that indicates to us it's a qualified lead that will actually end up as a deal, an active deal, or at least an opportunity. So we had our 6QAs. Then we did 6QA plus, which is really probably the equivalent of an MQL. And then we did 6QA plus, which is the equivalent of what we would determine SQL. There's pain, budget, decision maker on the line. And we've scoped them out. We've had a discovery call. And that would be our 6QA plus. And we developed this language because we found if we stuck to the old language, we stuck to the old mindset. So if we said MQL, SQL, it became about a lead. But if we made it, that 6QA plus, that 6QA plus, it got people using the word account. And that minor little shift made quite a bit of a difference in terms of getting people to shift their mindset towards that account-based marketing. I'd also say one big thing in terms when we talked about alignment with sales and marketing is writing down your definitions, whatever they are, and revisiting it, because a lot of times we make up these words. Like marketing people love to do that. We just all talked about project code names and project names, and we make up all this stuff, and then you got to just remember what your naming convention is. So what, not just MQA or SQA or whatever you're using, but also how do you define attribution? What's a marketing? What do you consider marketing attributed? Is it first touch, last touch? And then writing that down and having all parties agree. Yes, that is the way we're going to measure it. Those are the right terms, and just really coming to that agreement so that you're not arguing. You don't spend your time arguing over the definitions. You can really get to the point of what you're talking about, which is the measuring the outcomes of your campaigns.
Yeah. I mean, that's so much good stuff here. So really appreciate it. So we're coming in the home stretch. So I'm going to ask the drop the mic question, which is, can you share business impact after implementing ABM? So any stats, any sort of core tenets that were achieved that were a part of your program. And maybe Carrie, you want to start?
Sure. So for us, I had a couple of things here. I'm just going to refer to my notes. Quarter over quarter, we increased our qualified accounts by almost 300%, which is pretty impressive. Opportunities created, we increased quarter over quarter 322%. And then opportunity value, we increased 171%. And that's just quarter over quarter. Now for us, marketing in the beginning of the year as part of this program committed to adding 8 million to the pipeline, or in marketing influence pipeline. We committed to 8 million, and halfway through the year, we're already at 6 million. So we've really seen a couple things in terms of, once we got this wheel moving, like I talked about before, that engine moving, it really started to take on its own life. The other thing I'd say, we're seeing early indications that what we are putting into the pipeline, it closes faster and the leads are more qualified. So we have about 8 different pieces of our pie that contribute to pipeline, whether it's sales, client referrals, our franchise network, marketing, of course. But what we see is for marketing's contribution, we take up about half the pie. And in addition to that, what we contribute closes faster and is a more qualified lead. So it's really become compelling data for that C-level when I present these dashboards, that it's moving the dial, not just in a numerical way, but in a value, in terms of business growth, and how this program has really contributed in a meaningful way to the success of the organization.
From a marketing feeding sales perspective, like we drive these numbers to our sales team that accounts in purchase are 5 to 6 times more likely to open an opportunity within 3 months compared to all accounts. 64% of total opportunities created were identified in those decision and purchase stages. 69% of close one opportunities were identified in those same stages. So I think driving those kind of numbers helps with the adoption rate and getting the sales team on board. This year alone, we have a little over 9 million revenue influenced directly from 6 Sense marketing initiatives, or those engagement records I was telling you guys about earlier. So stuff like that is what's opening eyes, like, whoa, what's going on over there?
Yeah, I think if, I shared some of the stats around our, the ROI in our program spend, and higher opportunity value, lower opportunity cost for the targeted ABX accounts that we're investing in. But I also wanted to share a little bit about an SDR pilot that we ran at the end of December into January. It was a 6-week pilot that we had focusing on two ABX-centric integrated campaigns. One was a competitive takeout. The other was targeting a specific industry. So looking at about 280 accounts for that pilot globally. But within that 6-week period, which included the introduction to 6 Sense, the methodology, and learning how to use the tool, our SDRs hit 220% attainment on their pipeline goals for that pilot period. And that was exclusively from 6 Sense hot account alerts. So that was them going into their dashboard, looking at those accounts in decision or purchase stage, and doing what they should be doing in terms of contact sourcing and making the language relevant to the prospect using our competitor, or to the prospect in the specific industry that we're targeting. So I think that the attainment and the percentages, the difference between what we're seeing for our targeted accounts for ABX and not, just tells a really strong story for success at Sift.
That's impact for sure. I mean, that's pretty amazing to hear kind of across the board. Before we go into our Q&A, as we're coming up, any final words of wisdom or thoughts from anyone in the group?
I think high level, just take your time. This switch doesn't happen overnight, right? So use the tools that you've heard from us, and some that you'll find along the way that are unique to your organization, to just kind of take your time and see the value in it, trust the data, and use that data in the approaches that you're already doing. But you can get a little bit more strategic, a little bit more granular, a little bit more specific with your messaging just by using it. And at the end of it all, you'll see that the reporting, it speaks for itself. It really does work. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call out. My advice would be to start small and scale up from there. Like we did with our pilot period, focusing on a really finite set of accounts rather than trying to, boil our entire ICP universe all at once. And, like Jordan said, ABX rollout is it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. We've been at this at Sift for coming up on 8 months now, and I would say that like we're probably at a walk stage if you're looking at crawl, walk, run. There's still a lot that we can do in terms of tactics and some more sophistication to create some of those more personalized buying experience that Carrie was alluding to before. But we're focusing on what makes sense for our business at this point in time. And we're working really closely with our overall business objectives to help to define what our strategy and the timeline looks like.
And real quick, I want to jump in to follow on Brian, Carrie. A specific example: have a model refresh if you think you need one. I mean, we just went through one a few months back, and we're even considering. We have multiple solutions that we offer local government websites, Park and Rec's solution, agenda meeting management. So when you look at your model, and if it's encompassing all of those solutions, you have to kind of look at it like, do we need to dial it back to focus on one solution, or do we need multiple models? There's several different ways you can go about it. Do I need multiple models, one for each solution, that kind of thing? So I would urge you to talk to your CSM or sales, whoever you're in whatever stage you're in right now, to discuss that specifically for your organization and what you sell, because your model might look different than somebody else's model, and what we're saying might look different for you. So that's very important to the technical side of things, and making sure that your model matches exactly what you're wanting to find and get from 6th Sense.
I would say along those lines, it's not a set it and forget it play. As marketer, I think we've benefited from all this technology, which makes everything automated. We can automate our workflows and sequences and programs. But I do think you need to take the time, look at your models, look at your targets, look at what's performing, make those changes. And I'm sure as we all do, it seems like advice that's so intuitive, but it's not. You got to keep looking at your strategy of how you're approaching ABM and keep reconfiguring what you're doing. Like with that lead scoring I mentioned, tinker with lead scoring, tinker with different ads, different content. I think that's really important to do.
Yeah. Carrie, quick question for you: are you using HubSpot's native HubSpot scoring, or a separate scoring of your own?
We use HubSpot, not their predictive scoring. We do enter our own scoring. So okay. we upload our own scoring model.
Good to know. I might have to borrow that one for me.
More than welcome.
Well, great. So thank you all very much. So we are going to hop over we are kind of running short on time, so we'll probably just get to one or two questions, but I want to try to get to them at least as we can. So first question we have are the roles, and this is for anybody, so feel free to jump in. Are the roles you're targeting, like contacts and titles and so forth, are the same ones that sales are engaging with, or are you targeting lower level roles that maybe a senior role might be delegating to a junior? I guess it's more about kind of like what's marketing working versus sales working in terms of like your key personas and titles.
That's it depends, but
yeah. From a targeting standpoint, we're going after job levels from manager all the way up to the C-suite. We find that while we would love to see a top-down approach at all of the organizations that we're targeting and get those executives on the line right away, it typically is a bottom-up approach where we're able to engage the managers, the directors that then will bring in their leadership teams as the conversations progress and they have a better idea of how Sift might benefit their business. Mm-hmm. That's not to say that we don't experience the opposite too. It's just generally a bit easier for our sales team to connect with those managers and directors.
Well, I also think you need to, I think that's a great point, Brian. I also think you need to like get out of the mindset of just one person. So yes, maybe it is a junior person, but you've got to enrich your data and figure out who's that buying committee so that when sales gets this lead, we've been training them to, now you need to go in and see who are the other people in this organization that would be relevant to, because maybe I did send my team to go look for something, but if I happen to get a communication from the company I sent them to look at, and it includes the content I was interested in, that's a pretty good hit. So, just training them to enrich their data and not just focus on that one lead, because what we originally had as a problem was, well, who is it? Who is this lead? They couldn't get over the fact we couldn't give them the name. So you have to like get them into enriching the data. Jordan, it sounds like you sympathize.
We struggled with that a bit too until, like you said, enriching the data. That's important. I mean, it works in many different ways, right? Or it's beneficial in many different ways. You increase your database, you're increasing your ICP, your TAM, all that kind of stuff, total addressable market. And to get a little bit more specific, Charles, into your question is, I think it depends on the stage too, right? If they're in awareness or in consideration, you probably are going to target or hit a different audience than you would if they're in decision and purchase. So I think things like that come into play when it comes to what the message is or what the content is. But multi-threading, hit them all, but hit them all strategically, right? Talk to the right people at the right time. And it might depend on what stage they're in, what industry they're in, that kind of stuff. But
great. Yeah, just to the point of multi-threading, we actually just at 6 Sense internally, we have requirements for our sales team and our BDRs and so forth that require, in order for there even to be paid and sort of credit for account, that multi-threading has to happen. It's incredibly important to do it. And we even have some AI backup helping out with that a little bit on the email side, but again, incredibly important to get in front of multiple personas, multiple titles that you're working through.
And I do want to take my statement back a little bit. Don't hit them all, right? If there's 500 people at an organization, don't hit them all. But, based off of the intent that we're getting or the data that we're getting from 6 Sense, which groups that you could target, especially at which stage. So I wanted to make sure I elaborated on that.
Yeah. All right. I get one more, actually got a 6 Sense question, but I think sort of can make it general, just in terms of, so if 50 to 70% of the buying decision happens before the buyers ever contact a vendor, where does 6 Sense start giving you signals that a company may be in market? So I can actually grab that one. So, what we're showing, and, then there's other platforms out there too. I don't want to make it into a, just a straight up commercial, but early stage understanding, for example, intent data, what kind of content is an account starting to read and consume, you start to get signals for that. You could be pulling in G2 Crowd reviews, G2 Crowd, I guess they don't call themselves anymore, Trust Radius, all the different review sites. There's a lot of different types of intent, anonymous web traffic. So like those early signals, those early indicators that somebody may be starting to be in market, or at least starting to research. So, those stages are what, we talked a little bit about predictive modeling, where, in the process of bringing a solution on board, you look at what are the things that other opportunities did before they became opportunities, and sort of creating a model around that, which is what the solution does. So it allows to sort of start to see kind of what's happening early stage before actually somebody raises their hand or starts talking to a sales rep. So that's kind of that at a high level.
And what we do is we have different strategies based on, in market versus our primary target accounts we call tier 1, and then we have in market accounts, and the strategy is very different for both. Jordan, you gave me a thumbs up there.
Yeah.
So we do the same.
Display ads for, consider it, we could go another hour here.
Well, we are coming up on the hour, so I will, we'll take it there from a question standpoint. So I want to just thank our group today. Awesome, great insights. I learned quite a bit. Just really great conversation. Thanks to the audience for your questions, and just overall the chat was hopping with some great back and forth. And so just we have our next webinar coming up, which is on August 28th. And this one should be pretty interesting, because this one is ABM's value to sales. So we really want to talk about, we've had 2 sessions talking about ABM with a lot of marketing and stuff, but now we're going to say, like, all right, sales, this is what it's going to bring to you. So it should be a good lively session coming up again, August 28th. But again, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you so much to our panelists, and have a great day.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity.
Take care.